Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
This is Sunbelt Commissioner Keith Gill, and I listen to the Funbelt Podcast.
This is the Funbelt Podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Host to Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Powell Razor, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the Sunbelts.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating.
Tibbs, am I leading this in or are you leading this in? I forget.
Who's the leader of the club that's made for you and me? It's no one else but Jeremy.
Are you quoting scripture? There needs to be a separation of church and podcast, Tibbs. I think that's in the Constitution.
I think that was like a bastardization of the Mickey Mouse Club.
This is kind of a Mickey Mouse podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, my name's Jeremy Harper. That's Thibodeau with the bad attitude. Shane Metlin from the Daily News Record also joins us. And this is going to be a softball episode, guys. This is a Sunbelt softball episode. Softball's being tossed left and right. The season is over. The awards have been given. We're in the middle of the Sunbelt tournament already. Guys, what do we think?
The softball to me,
Yeah.
Shane, is how do we get rid of Jeremy? Because he can offer no kind of contribution to this conversation.
I have zero input. As far as I know, softball is imaginary. It's not even real.
I think you need to adopt a team.
You know, I am. I thought about that earlier. And as much as I would like to adopt the Warhawks, Tibbs, they're too good. They're too good to adopt. I can't believe I'm saying that about any Warhawks team. I'm going to adopt JMU. I'm adopting the Dukes. Those fighting Dukes who clawed their way into the tournament. Congratulations to the Dukes.
Jeremy, you're an advertising guy. All that proves to me is that their advertisement on everything Sunbelt for their alumni association has rotted your brain.
I feel like I fully subscribe 100% to Duke culture, whatever that may be. I'm not even sure there is a Duke culture, but if there is, I'm subscribed to it.
The only thing would be better is if they sponsored the podcast and we had a live read right after that.
Nice.
I can look into that.
But the Sunbelt tournament has started. And Shane, I'm looking at the standings and then I'm looking at the seedings. Why is it so wacky? Because you got Coastal Carolina, by the way. Coastal Carolina with the best RPI in the Sunbelt. Merely a 7 seed? How does that happen?
I don't know. I'm curious about that kind of across the board with Coastal. I'm going to have to ask about this because this is not – when you mentioned this in our little group chat earlier, that's where things were for them. You take a look at baseball, women's basketball, volleyball, soccer to a lesser degree. Coastal's finishing higher in the RPI as far as the conference goes than they are in the standings in a whole lot of sports. So they maybe have figured something out. RPI net for basketball. When we talk about men's basketball, they just weren't good enough this year, rebuilding year, to follow that pattern. But I find it interesting that they are doing something in their non-conference to boost those numbers and then not struggling necessarily in regular season or in conference play, but not dominating, even though they're going into the regular season with the high RPIs. So that's a long-winded way to say, I don't know exactly what's going on in softball, but they may have like a scheduling guru or somebody over in Conway figuring out how to juke the stats a little bit.
Here's what's happening.
Okay.
This season in softball, they have wins over Notre Dame.
Ooh.
They have a win over Kentucky.
Nice.
Georgia Tech.
That's pretty good.
Another win over Georgia Tech.
Wow.
They split with Wisconsin, split with UConn.
All the biggies.
Swept Bowling Green. Beat number 9 South Carolina. They beat Texas State in a series, who was at one point ranked number 14 in the mid-major poll.
Mm-hmm.
beat the Cajuns. Did lose a series, though, to Georgia Southern in conference action.
That probably hurt.
Lost the conference series to James Madison, which this year does hurt.
My team, the Dukes.
But I really feel that it's those non-conference wins that they are going out playing not only the P5, but beat them.
Yeah,
Just
okay.
win, baby, win.
You look at Coastal Carolina, their RPI as of now, as of this moment, it's 42, and that's not bad. I mean, that's kind of right on the cusp of having a shot at an at-large, right? Then it's Texas State at 50. So a full 8 points better than Coastal Carolina. Rounding up is four more teams that are sub 100, which I think is pretty good for a conference. It's not bad. Louisiana at 54, Marshall at 82. Your Warhawks, Tibbs, at 94, and then Georgia Southern at 96. So 6 programs, sub 100. That's not too bad.
A lot of good wins this year on the diamond in baseball and softball. And what's crazy to think of, we say, oh, well, softball's really kind of having a down year this year, and yet we have that number of programs in the top 100.
Yeah, I think we say it's down because the usual powerhouse, the Cajuns, aren't the powerhouse anymore, right?
They are not.
There's no real powerhouse. There's no borderline top 25 team like we've had, one or two of those in most years. Usually Louisiana, sometimes Texas State, like others. There's a lot of top 100 teams, but there's nobody who's like really on the verge of getting ranked in the polls that show up on ESPNU and those things.
So the post or the postseason hardware, we can call it, has been awarded.
Regular season.
Yeah, I guess that's a better way to say that. Because it's not postseason. It's actually the only way to say it, right? So who won Coach of the Year?
Coach of the Year, going to your 4th seeded ULM Warhawks, Coach Molly Fickner, in her 7th year, shattered every kind of record possible for number of wins, number of home wins, was on a 22-0 streak at home. Fantastic year for her, well-deserved. Even if you're on the outside looking in and say they don't have the resources, they don't have the players, the facilities, yada, 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 and the fact that she was able to really propel them into a position where they could have won a share of the Sun Belt Conference title, if not win it outright. Miracle worker.
So if there is a Coach of the Year, then who was the Offensive Player of the Year?
There's not really an offensive player of the year, so to say.
Okay.
They do it by freshman. They do it by newcomer.
Okay.
They do it in different ways like that. Player of the year, and rightfully so, the big first baseman for Texas State, Ayanna Coleman.
Okay.
She was an absolute beast and bashing the ball every time it was actually thrown to her. She was a big reason that the Bobcats were able to sweep the Warhawks in Monroe over the weekend, in the final weekend, I should say. Pitcher of the year, Nicolette Picone. She had just over a 2.4 ERA, 24 wins, 154 strikeouts. She's the reason that Coastal Carolina did have all those big non-conference wins and why they are already sitting 1-0 in conference tournament action.
And I believe you were saying something off microphone that was kind of interesting about the first team selections before the
Two interesting points for the first team. First, it's the first time in a while where we have not seen a Louisiana Lafayette player on the first team postseason awards. There were several on the second team, so they did have definitely a lot of good talent. But I think that really showcases that they were just struggling this year under their first-year head coach and unable to really put it all together like we've traditionally seen them do. Again, still a good program. They still have the full ability to go on a run there in Troy to capture the automatic bid into the NCAA tournament. The weirder stat, though, I'm pretty sure this is the first and maybe the only time, unless they hang around ULM for a little bit longer, that there will be twins.
Twins
Taking up 2 spots on the first team with Megan and Morgan Brown, who hail from Katy, Texas, just dominating at their respective positions. Megan being in the outfield, Morgan at second base. Clutch bats, clutch defense. They're a big reason for the Warhawks' success this season.
So, looking at the final standings, it looks to me like Southern Miss really limped into the foray there. Who was coming in strong, Shane?
It's everything was so jumbled. Obviously, Texas State surged to get that number 1 seed. As Tibbs said, his Warhawks went into the weekend in first place and got swept by Texas State. They fall all the way to number 4 seed. Texas State steals that number 1 seed. So they're coming in strong. JMU come in at the 9 seed. They were they started 0-9 in conference play. Part of an 11-game losing streak. They had just maybe the worst 3 weeks in program history, and that's not even an exaggeration. Like, they never had a losing streak like that. They get swept by, a bad South Alabama team.
Yeah.
And then they turn it on. They win 5 series in a row. I don't know if they're a threat to win the whole thing, but if they do get by Troy tonight, they've got some runners on base right now threatening there. They may disrupt things a little bit because there is no dominant team. Everybody's got at least 8 losses. There's no your traditional Raging Cajuns that just dominate this league this year. So, those are probably the 2 that are kind of hot that could maybe ride the momentum a little bit. But it's wide open for just about anybody.
So Coastal Carolina defeats Southern Miss. Does that mean Southern Miss is out? Like, is this a single elimination in this first round?
Lose and go home.
Lose and go home. Is it the whole tournament's that way? Lose and go home?
All day, every day.
Wow. Okay. So it's number 8 Troy versus number 9 James Madison right now going on. Number 7 Coastal Carolina already defeated number 10 Southern Miss. And then the quarterfinals, I guess, yes, it looks like on tomorrow. Exciting. I'm sure it's on ESPN Plus. Am I right?
Until the championship game, it is on the Deuce.
I need to check that out. That's going to be some good softball. I actually enjoy watching softball, even though Arkansas State is not represented. I actually enjoy watching good women's softball over baseball anytime. I just feel like there's more energy to the game, but that's how I feel. So,
Games
what else? What?
Games move fast too.
What?
Softball games, they move fast.
That's true.
They can get done in 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Like it's good.
Yeah.
It's good to watch.
Yeah. Baseball games, they can take 3 or 4 hours, and that's just too much. I can't do that. Speaking of baseball, anything new on the baseball front, Tibbs?
It's Coastal Carolina. It's their show to lose, sitting at 20-4 overall in the conference. They beat a top 10 Clemson team midweek. I don't know if there's a team in the league that can stop Coastal Carolina to capture at least the regular season title. I think once you're in Montgomery, anything can happen. You kind of know who's going to win those games, but I feel like the regular season is theirs, and then it's just a matter of where the seeds fall for Montgomery and that postseason berth.
Yeah, and right now, the 2 hottest teams, Coastal Carolina, winners of 8 straight, Southern Miss, winners of 9 straight. Both of these teams coming in strong. I got to watch a little bit of Southern Miss play against Arkansas State, and Southern Miss has the bats. And I've seen a little bit of Coastal Carolina, too, and those guys have the bats. That's going to be a really nice battle. You sprinkle Troy and Louisiana in there, and it's going to be a really fun ending to the regular season. Awkward silence.
Waiting on Shane to chime in. I thought he was a baseball guy.
You summed it up perfectly. What else are we going to say?
Did I oversum it? Did I sum it up too perfectly? Did I wrap it up too neatly? That could just be too good commentary. That didn't leave any doors open for Shane to come in.
I'd say let's skip to a championship series between the Shants and the Southern Miss Golden Eagles, because they're both on fire. They're both great teams. Let's see that.
We can only have one bird hoist the trophy.
I want to see
what bird will it be?
I want to see like a Georgia State get in there, and then have at large Coastal Carolina, at large Southern Miss. You guys with me on that?
No, because I want to see the league host a NCAA regional.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
and I feel like Coastal Carolina is the best chance that the Sun Belt has to be able to host that this year, and all the projections have them hosting there in Conway, South Carolina.
Well, Conway has certainly been there before, been there, done that, so I could see that happening. Guys, have you checked out the RPI for Sun Belt baseball?
Nope, because my team's way on down there.
There are a total of 4 sub-100s, with Coastal Carolina clearly having the best advantage at number 12. Then Southern Miss sort of in that borderline at 30. Troy coming in at 42. And then Texas State, 75. And then your Cajuns, normally much better at 104. So, not too bad. You know, everybody in the whole league, in the whole conference, sub 200. Can't say that like about basketball, but you can say that about baseball. So not bad. Not bad.
On the men's basketball front, long-time Troy assistant Mike Worley leaving the bench next to Scott Cross because he is dropping the assistant part and getting a head coaching job at Division II Truman State in Kirkville, Missouri. A huge loss for Troy, for Scott Cross. He's been there for forever. He was really instrumental in doing a lot of the recruiting that Scott Cross was able to capitalize on. So a big loss for the league, big loss for Troy basketball.
Can't keep good people, Tibbs. You know, you have good people, you just enjoy them for as long as you can because they will move on.
Much like the people on this show.
No, we're all here. Wait, because we're not good people.
Yeah.
I got it. I saw the insult that you laid down. It took me a minute.
I do what I can. So, guys, we've kicked the horse many times about realignment.
Oh,
but it seems like it's flaring up once again that Texas State is not wanting to be a part of the Keith Gill clan anymore.
But what is it this time, Tibbs? What on earth do we have to do to make the Bobcats feel like they belong in the Sun Belt? What do we got to do now? Do we have to send some flowers? Is it going to take candy? Do we have to take them out on a date? Let them order the lobster? Tibbs, what is it now with the Bobcats?
I think they see the dangled media rights in front of them from joining the Pac-2.
Okay.
And trying to jump on that bandwagon. I can't blame them for seeing the short-term dollars because I think it would be a bump compared to where the Sun Belt is right now. But I just don't think that that's the right move long-term. I still feel pretty strongly, especially about your non-revenue sports, where your women's tennis team is having to go to Corvallis, Oregon for a match and then come back to then go to North Dakota or wherever else they have to travel to in that alignment. My question to y'all more than anything is, okay, if they leave, we're then at 11 teams. Do we just drop the conferences and play as an 11 team league?
Well, you know,
13.
Yeah. We'll be a 13.
Shane, I have many strikes against me. I graduated high school in Alabama and went to ULM.
He's still in 2014. He's still writing down all his checks. I will say this. I feel like the Pac-12 this new Pac-12 is giving off a lot of revamped Big East vibes back early in the day when they invited Memphis and several others to come in, and then it immediately exploded and turned into dust. I just feel like there is such a risk joining this Pac-12, knowing that Oregon State and Washington State will leave that conference in a heartbeat the moment one of the P4 says, come on and join us. Absolutely, that's going to happen, and they're going to be in the same damn boat. Second off, you talked about what do we do? Losing Texas State, I like Texas State. I like the Bobcats. But quite frankly, there's a lot of people out there that would love to see Western Kentucky join the Sun Belt. For some reason, there's always a lot of momentum and talk around that. Not just on our side, but their side too. Hey, Texas State, if you don't want to be a part of the show, that's fine. You can be replaced. Shane, what do you think? Join me on this. Join me on this bandwagon.
Yeah. Has there ever been a team that's like been talked about for joining another conference so much that the rest of the league, and it's not even like sour grapes or anything. It's just like, okay, yeah, if you want to go, like,
yes,
that's fine. I get it. Like, we can tighten things up around here a little bit. Like, I love the league the way it is, and I don't really want Texas State to go. But it's like if one team was going to leave, it's kind of like that might be the one you'd push out the door. Like.
Yeah, it's not like a time-honored linchpin like Troy that holds us all together.
Because they're the outlier geographically already and everything. And, it's not like they're good. They're good in football. They've had success in basketball. Baseball's obviously good. Softball. They're good programs, but they're not like – there's not necessarily like a flagship Sun Belt program that you're like, oh, man, we really lost something here. It's not like Louisiana softball, even though they're having a down year – leaving or Troy football or like I don't. So
it's not like Texas leaving the Big 12.
Yeah, when that happens, people might say like, "Oh, good riddance," but like that's sour grapes. That's being bitter. Like your conference is better if you have Texas and Oklahoma.
Well,
like,
but on that note, though, if the shoe was on the other foot, and maybe it's James Madison that gets that ACC invite. Are we doing what we can to scrape pennies together to give them a little bit more money and hold on to them? Or are we doing a Texas State and saying, see ya, best wishes?
Yeah. I mean, I think in that case, if we're talking ACC, we're talking about a ACC that's been decimated, and we're probably talking about JMU and Marshall and App State and a bunch of schools maybe looking to make that jump. So who knows? But I don't know. It's just kind of funny to me that it's just like the situation where it's like, if they leave, maybe everybody's better off. Like, they're going to a good spot. Yeah. Sunbelt bring in a team that's a better geographic fit. I'm also just really curious to see, is the Pac-12, are they going to like poach a Memphis or Tulane or somebody? And if they do, then maybe the door's open for the Sunbelt to add a really good program. Like, East Carolina is a natural fit with the Sun Belt, especially in the East. And then I don't know who you bump to the West to keep your divisions, like, maybe a Georgia State or somebody, but
probably Marshall goes West.
Yeah. I don't know. Marshall's history with ECU and some of the schools, I don't think they'd want to do that, but I mean, this whole thing, if Texas State is part of a larger group going to the Pac-12, it might open the door for a really good replacement.
That's a good point. You did say something, Shane, that I thought was kind of triggered something inside of me. You had said, has there ever been a situation in the Sun Belt where somebody leaving has been like, okay. When Georgia State first entered the Sun Belt, and Tibbs, you may back me up on this, you may not, because I don't know if you felt the same way. But there was like immediate talk from the Georgia State guys like, oh, we're just here temporarily. I mean, I know we've never even had a program before, but we're so good. Our market's so big. we're going to be in the ACC right away, or the AAC. American Athletic Conference is already knocking on our door. Hey, Sunbelt, we love you, but we're about to take off. And it's not only just sort of insulting, but it was kind of amusing, Tibbs. It was like, you guys just got a football team, and suddenly you're just going to just bail on the conference that pulled you up. It was just kind of funny, and there was a lot of, well, then good riddance to you. And of course, it never happened. Georgia State stuck around.
I don't remember if they ever played against each other or overlap, but you have to remember that was also when they had Bill Curry, and FAU would have had Howard Schnellenberger. And Howard Schnellenberger, in his mind of starting the football program at FAU and joining the Sun Belt, he didn't really care what league they were in. He just wanted to be able to compete against Miami, Florida, and Florida State for recruits. That was it.
That was all?
That was it.
Huh. All right. Yeah. When I think about other defections, Tibbs, I was a little aggravated when Western Kentucky and Middle Tennessee left. I remember feeling betrayed by that. Did you feel that way, or were you whatever?
I just feel like that's classic. The prettier girl asked you out, because Conference USA maybe at the time was the better league.
It was.
But then you found out that she had this weird growth on her back, and so you wanted to go back to the original girl that you were going to the dance with.
Uh-huh.
That's really kind of what I feel like it's like. And maybe it's me, but I'm the one that would be like, no, you chose growth. Go with growth.
That's kind of making me feel a little queasy in the stomach just thinking about that, Tibbs. Maybe that's a good time to enter into promos, plugs, and parting shots.
Shane, kick it off for us so we can hear all about the Daily News Record.
Hey, well, I will finish my plug from last week. The story is out there.
Great story, by the way.
Yeah. Just, basically go check it out on dnronline.com. You can Google Sunbelt Women's Basketball DNR online and find it. But Sunbelt kept their players in women's basketball. All conference players are coming back. And the top of the league should be very good. Maybe something big can happen in Sunbelt women's basketball. For all the frustration of losing the guys in men's basketball and football, they're stars in this conference in women's basketball. So you can check out that article. Beyond that, let's just all kind of wait and see what happens. So much crazy shit happening with whether or not the House settlement's going to be approved. Now, possibly executive orders from the president with Nick Saban on the committee,
That's what we need.
College sports.
We needed a committee.
Nuts for the next few weeks, probably, as they try to figure out what's happening with the future of college sports. So let's just be glad. At the very least, we're going to have teams that we care about playing each other in football, basketball, baseball, all these sports. We've got some rivalries. We should have a fun time following Sunbelt teams next year, even if it's the beginning of the end for college sports.
Let's just ride this fireball right into oblivion. It's going to be fine.
We all know that college sports, part of the game is long bus rides wherever you're going, especially for those sports that have multiple games, not necessarily football, but like the soccer, the basketball, the baseball. ULM is on one of those treks. Ooh. A 16-hour bus drive from good old Funroe to Conway, South Carolina. Damn. Why, Jeremy, do you think that is?
I would think that Monroe, ULM, is just too poor to afford a plane ticket for their teams, and that maybe they should pack it in and become D2.
Not a true story. But that does qualify you to be president of ULM with that sentiment.
Perfect.
The Sun Belt scheduled Coastal Carolina a home series last weekend. They scheduled them a home series this weekend, also coinciding with a PGA Golf Tour event in Myrtle Beach, meaning there are literally not enough seats to get to Myrtle Beach.
Oh, man.
For the ULM baseball team. So cross country, road trip, stops at Buc-ee's, and everything else have already been recorded on X. I encourage you to check out Brewer Hendricks. He is the director of stats and analytics for ULM baseball. He has been cataloging the trek across, including once they finally did get to Myrtle Beach, the very intense putt-putt round with head coach Mike Federico pulling out for the win and everyone else battling for second and third place.
You know what the most war hockey thing to do would not have been taking the bus, but had jumped like aboard a steamboat on the Mississippi and then chugged into the Gulf of Mexico and then went around Florida to the bottom and came up on the other side and ended up in South Carolina. I think that would have been a better way to do it.
Yeah, and we could have sent a telegraph to let them know that we were coming.
That's right. Maybe ride some alligators. I don't know.
Does anybody take trains anymore?
Trains are great. I don't know if there is a direct rail line from Monroe to Conway, but
back when I was in Monroe, we would drive over to Jackson and take the Amtrak down to New Orleans because it was a great, scenic way. You could drink some beers on the way down there and not have to worry about driving. Although there was a time we were on the train and it hit a truck that had parked on the tracks because the guy jumped out to go hunting in the middle,
Nice party.
But I looked at doing that again because me and the missus definitely had a fun time doing that. So we were like, oh yeah, Houston has an Amtrak. We can just jump on that and go to New Orleans. Yeah, we can be there in about 8 hours. No big deal.
Slow. Yeah.
The return trip is not 8 hours. It is about 38 hours by way of DC, Chicago, St. Louis, and over to El Paso before going back across to Houston.
Wow. So you're really seeing America.
America, yes.
Okay. Well, I guess I have a parting shot, and it's. I don't know. It might be a commentary on today's youth. I don't know. I'm getting old. Could be it, but we're selecting a new pope, right? It's everybody's at the Vatican. All the cardinals all around the world have assembled to the Sistine Chapel, and I've been to the Sistine Chapel, guys. I've been to the Vatican. And it is quite a trip. Have you guys been to the Vatican?
I've never been to Europe.
Not been to Europe. No.
You've not been to Europe. Okay.
No.
You guys need to get out. Dust off your passports. Go to Europe. Maybe visit the holy city of the Vatican City. But I've been, and one of the parts of the tour was visiting the Sistine Chapel with the paintings. The ceiling paintings by Michelangelo, right? And so you go in there, and you go in there with a lot of people. And they ask that you don't talk, that you don't take pictures. Of course, people are taking pictures and talking. What's happening? And I'm in awe. I know I'm in one of these places in the world that not everybody gets to see. It's been around for hundreds of years. It has, left an impact on anybody from the smallest peasant to some of the greatest, names in history. They have seen this thing, and I'm looking at it. I look to the side, and my nephew is sitting down on a pew playing a video game on his phone. And I say to him, buddy, you are in the Sistine Chapel, the world famous Sistine Chapel. Above you, above your head, is some of the greatest, most famous artwork in the world, in the history of painting. What are you doing? And he just looked at me like I was completely insane. So there you have it about the kids these days. They would rather break a personal best on some game on their cell phone than be in awe of Michelangelo and his beautiful artwork on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel.
You can't see it, but Shane's giving him that same look.